Alright YouTube, hello, thank you for watching. My cat is in a very bad spot today. I have a feeling the cat's not going to be in a dope shack over there for very long. I kind of feel bad for him. Anyway, this is my H.V.G.3 and it's had a bad year. I built this in about 1993. Never had a single drop of oil leak from it until I did something very stupid. Anyway, long story short, the tower froze. I have no idea what to do with this. So I'm going to power it up, and it's been pushing out jelly for like a year now. I don't understand it. Fan is on. Famous last words. Here goes nothing. High voltage on. Oh yeah, cat didn't like that. Wow, it's jumping in places it's not supposed to be jumping. I think my cat's stuck to the ceiling. Poor guy. I tried to tell him. I told him, I said, get out of there. I picked him up and I carried him across the garage to try to get him to go behind something. And what's he do? He goes right back into the dope shack. Yeah, it's jumping. It's jumping the drain plug. Yeah, it should not be jumping the drain plug. I'm not even going to turn it up. Well, goodbye, H.V.G.3. Stupidity was your demise. My experience with high voltage has been this. When you have something that's misfiring and not insulated properly and arcing somewhere that it's not supposed to, if you allow it to continue to do that, the high voltage will etch a path. And once it etches that path in, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a trail of carbon. I have no idea. I'm not a scholar. But I can tell you it will always arc there. You will not be able to get it to stop. That kind of, it's definitely going to have a focus issue being this close to it if it doesn't destroy it. That was about 50%. The light coming through the windows is just going to wash the picture out completely. This is what happens. Take a look at the drain plug. That should not ever happen. That tells me that the oil is very low in it. I have no idea how this could ever be fixed. I think this whole unit just has to be trashed because there would be no way to ever repair this the way this unit's put together. This was the third prototype I did back in the early 90s. The first two failed from oil leaks. I don't know what got breached, but it spewed so much jelly down the sides of it, you can't even really discern where it's coming from. Somebody told me to top this off with mineral oil. They said it's exactly the same as transformer oil. And I have only myself to blame. I should have done more research. My gut feeling told me putting mineral oil in this was going to be a bad idea. There you have it. Doing that killed something that worked 30 years. I know how that sounds to say that to you, but you know, that's the God's honest truth of what happened here. The build of this was very unique, and honestly, it's been so long I can't remember how I did it. But as I said, I had two of these units that failed. This one here I hit the jackpot on, but I don't know how the wire makes it out of the bottom and underneath the dog bowl without leaking. I just don't remember. I know this is a toilet bowl flange. I'm assuming that this sets on to the inside of this, but what plugged the bottom of this 4-inch Schedule 40 pipe, I have no idea how that high voltage lead came through there and never leaked. I will say this though, I used a boatload of marine epoxy. All this is bonded with PC7 marine epoxy. That part up there around the drain plug. This was like a reducer here. A couple years ago, I decided to cut the top off of that to try to get more voltage output out of it and increase the insulation in the top of it. So I hacksawed the top of it off, and then I used ABS glue and kind of tried to weld the ABS back together, the black ABS there. When I took it apart, my immediate thing to do would have been to take some pictures down in there so I can remember what's down in the top of this. There's a lot of paraffin wax in it, but the oil level originally was not filled the whole way up. You can't dipstick it. I've already tried that. There's paraffin all through the top there that's in the way. Unfortunately, I think I'm just going to have to call this thing ready for the boneyard. I'm past upset with this. I never should have put that mineral oil in there. It does still have high voltage output, there's no doubt about it, but it should not be jumping the drain plug, which tells me that there's a big void inside in places that it should be insulated, and it could be possibly shooting a big huge spark internally from maybe as far down as here the whole way up to the drain plug. I just can't recall. There's somewhere between 12 and 17 stages in this. And I don't recall how big the board was that was setting in here. That PVC pipe's 26 inches tall. At some point that PC board ends, and I am not sure where it ends at. But you have a very huge high voltage potential from the end point on that PC board to basically anything, which includes that drain plug. So if the oil level would be down here and the circuit board's up here, you kind of see what would happen. You'd have big huge sparks inside the pipe here and not have an obvious means to know that that's occurring, but the fact that it's jumping the drain plug tells me it is occurring. I just noticed this. All the cat hair standing up on end. Check that out. Those cat hairs are perfectly level there on the side. And those other ones are standing straight out. Well, enough dwelling on it, but anyway, if you've never seen this before, I can just tell you a quick couple things about this. This is like a 10-inch stainless steel dog bowl, and there's a flyback oscillator on the bottom of it. So that flyback oscillator uses the secondary of a flyback transformer, which has a huge amount of turns to it, and might have an inductance on the secondary of anywhere from maybe a half of a Henry to a Henry of inductance. And then there's a primary winding, which generally consists of maybe 10 turns center tapped, and then there's a base drive winding, which might contain maybe 4 to 6 turns center tapped. And it's just a self-oscillating circuit where the feedback drives the bases and the windings are out of phase, and it sustains oscillation. So the feedback windings go to the base of the transistors, the collector of the transistors go to the primary windings, and then there's just 2 bias resistors that just kick the whole thing into a big oscillation. There's really not a lot to it. Unfortunately, I don't like to flip it upside down. It's quite a marvel of engineering underneath it. And it has a 24-volt fan on the heat sink. A while back, I redid all the wiring to it underneath. I improved some things with the light bulbs and the indicators on it, changed some things on the fan. There's a fan switch on the side there. I rebuilt this power supply to run a lot cooler than what it originally ran. Anybody that watched my videos might remember I diddled around with this power supply for quite a while. There's the high voltage on, external DC, which just means it feeds this out a banana jack on the back so you can power other stuff with it. When I flip this on, that just puts power into the fan, off the filter caps. And when I flip the high voltage on, that just connects the output of the low voltage power supply to drive the oscillator. And then I had an amp meter wired in line with it too, just to make sure nothing hokey happened. I was seeing about 3 amps. It should be running about 7.5 when it's absolutely screaming. But I'm just not going to do that. This is something I always wanted to do but never got around to it. And now that this thing's completely ruined, there's no use in doing this. But I wanted to put a big NEMA plug on this, like a 4-pole plug or something. That way I could connect these two SO cords together with a plug instead of wire nut and everything. But anyway, the top of it's a bronze roller bearing. Actually, it's 2 bronze roller bearings that I soldered together and smoothed off because everything has to be completely smooth. And then the goop underneath it's actually duct seal. High voltage will not go through that duct seal, not even 150 kV will go through that duct seal. It's pretty amazing. And then there's duct seal over here too to keep this from jumping. This got all broke off. I was able to fix it. Originally I had that ring within probably 20 thousandths of an inch. But now it's not quite that good. It got bent up pretty bad in the move. Well, goodbye H.V.G-3. Stupidity was your demise.